The film begins with two best friends, the promiscuous Sloane and the stiff Katie, anticipating their next out-of-town excursion. For a month, they will work at Ecofield Organic Farms in order to save money for a shopping trip to New York City. Jason, Katie's cop uncle, picks them up the following morning. They will spend the night at Jason and his girlfriend's house before heading to the farm. Sloane advises them to create fictitious names while they are in the town as they get used to their new location. While Katie thinks of the name Ripley, Sloane thinks of the name Heather. Uncle Jason drops the two off at a station the following day so they may catch the bus to the property. Jason advises them to think up a safe phrase in case they get into trouble, being the protective cop uncle that he is. The catch is that each SMS message must include a code word. Stated differently, Jason requests that Katie email him a new code word each day in the correct alphabetical order. Apple is the safe word of the day. The two choose to wait at the cafe as they still have to wait for the bus, which is expected to arrive in about an hour after the uncle departs. Two villagers become interested in them right away, and they wind up sitting at the same table. The two males then present themselves as brothers named Jed and Lucas, while the two women use the fictitious identities they came up with the other night. The brothers offer to drive them to work, and despite her initial reluctance, Katie agrees to Sloane's unspoken request. In the end, the two get inside the blue pickup belonging to the young men. But plans don't always work out. The two women are confused when Jed purposefully drives by the farm where Sloane and Katie work. Finally, they show up. Jed and Lucas's sardonic mother greets the two women and offers them tea before they go to the farm. After they enter, Katie gets a text from her police uncle, and she responds to it with the safe phrases they agreed upon. In the meantime, the two have tea and pie, something they definitely shouldn't have done but do. When they discover that their drinks contain drugs, their vision becomes blurry. When the two realize something is wrong, they immediately flee for their life. Sadly, Jed and Lucas are able to carry them back inside after rendering them unconscious. The following day, Sloane and Katie are shackled in the middle of the forest and in a panic. Jed approaches them and informs them that they will now be residing here and provides them with necessities like clothing, a bed, and a toilet. In the following scene, after Katie and Sloane have changed into their clothes, Boris, Jed's boss, arrives and snatches Katie's phone to see if anyone is aware of their whereabouts. He now learns that Sloane and Katie had lied about their names and the code word she had used in the communication. At last, Sloane and Katie are compelled to inform him that the word apple is a safety term. Once everything is back on track, the town's sheriff arrives brandishing his revolver just as Katie and Sloane are preparing to take a bath using homemade showers. It turns out that the sheriff is a jerk who has come to rape one of the women and supports human trafficking. Following the nasty sheriff's tirade, Sloane goes to comfort a shaken-looking Katie. Uncle Jason, who lives on the opposite side of town, is becoming concerned because Katie used the same safe word yesterday in her most recent text message. Returning to the woods, Jed and Lucas greet a new client, whom we will now call the Scrubby Guy. After that, he selects Sloane and ushers her into the trailer. It should come as no surprise that the Scruffy Guy is somewhat insane. Returning to the cop uncle, he eventually calls Sloane and Katie's workplace and finds out that they failed to arrive for work yesterday. He goes to find them because he believes they are in danger. The next customer that arrives is even more dubious than the previous one, so Sloane and Katie's day is only going to get worse. As the next customer approaches, Jed and Lucas quickly cover their heads. Sloane is picked up by a pig mask guy and led into the trailer. It is now Katie's time to comfort a trembling Sloane as he departs. Since Sloane seems even more disturbed than before, we can't be certain what the pig mask guy did to her. Uncle Jason confronts the town's perverted sheriff, whom we previously saw when he arrives at the sheriff's office in the next scene. Here, we find out that the uncle is an FBI agent rather than just a police officer. He expresses his worries and believes his niece has been abducted. For whatever reason, the FBI uncle chooses to inform the sheriff that he knows they are in trouble since Katie failed to utilize a new code word in her most recent text message, which adds even more intrigue to the plot. Back in the woods, it's clear that the sheriff has told the kidnappers that Katie lied to them about the safe word and that her uncle works for the FBI. Boris the boss orders Jeff to kill them both and dispose of their remains because he wants the FBI to look into their human trafficking operation. They are unaware that Katie is listening in on the talk. The FBI uncle chooses to stop at the cafe where he last dropped Katie and Sloan off in the midst of all of this. The barista is then asked what he knows. The type of pickup that Katie and Sloan left with is vividly remembered by the barista. The following day, just before the kidnappers and a shady guy show up, Katie informs Sloan that they are going to be killed. The scruffy guy is then left behind to observe them. Katie uses this as an opportunity to woo him, and when she is close enough, she uses her bare teeth to tear his throat. After then, the two women manage to break free from their restraints. The sheriff shows there shortly after, most likely with the intention of killing them. However, his car is taken by Sloan and Katie as soon as he gets out. After returning to town by car, the two women go to the hardware store to get ready. Now, some serious crap is going to happen. The cashier then tells them where Boris, the man with the blue truck, lives when they inquire if he knows him. Uncle Jason visits the town's auto insurance headquarters today as part of his ongoing inquiry on the opposite side of town. He asks who owns the blue vehicle after making up a story about unintentionally running into it. Boris, the boss, simply returns home. As it turns out, he was seriously hurt when Katie and Sloan ambushed him and threw a number of tennis balls with nail spikes at him. Now that things are reversed, Boris begs for his life and even offers his money in return for saving his life. Uncle Jason shows up in front of Boris's house at that same moment. Once they're back inside, Sloan and Katie start asking him who the man wearing the pig mask is. When Boris won't tell, Katie and Sloan take a homemade spear and thrust it up his butt, killing him in the process. It looks like Katie and Sloan have left when Uncle Jason eventually comes inside, and he observes a dying Boris. Then Jason hears the thunder of storms and automobile engines outside. Uncle Jason rushes the dying Boris to the hospital as Katie and Sloan leave in their car. The sheriff tells Uncle Jason that Boris did not make it in the following scene. Uncle Jason becomes even more concerned and tries to call Katie's phone, but suddenly the sheriff pulls out his rifle after realizing his cover has been compromised. We find out that the pig mask guy is actually the town's priest when Katie and Sloan drive up in front of a church. When Sloan enters the church, she confronts her rapist directly. The two best friends defeat the bastard with Katie's assistance. We can tell that Katie and Sloan are suddenly happy and carefree as they drive off. However, it turns out that the priest, also known as the pig mask guy, has been chained behind the truck the entire time when they stop and get out of the vehicle. Uncle Jason is currently being held captive by the sheriff, even though the two women appear to be doing well. To make matters worse, the sheriff seems to have taken two more young ladies into custody. Fortunately, Sloan and Katie have saved the day. After tying the sheriff up, they play Russian roulette on him to torture him. The two women are clearly a touch out of control, but I suppose we can't hold that against them. When Katie eventually knocks him out with a strike to the head, the sheriff starts apologizing. The women are then set free by Sloan and Katie, who also instruct them to free Uncle Jason. Since Katie and Sloan saved their lives, Jason tries to ask the women who killed the sheriff, but they refuse to respond out of gratitude. After visiting Jed and Lucas's mother, Katie and Sloan decide to give her the same medicine that she gave them a few days prior. She's restrained and brought to the basement, where Jed is also restrained and gagged. The mother is made to watch as they use baseball bats to beat his head in. They then bring her to Lucas, who is likewise strapped to a chair. They release him, give him a bat, and threaten to beat his own mother instead of beating him to death. Lucas gets shot dead when he expresses his disapproval. The two women then arrange his body to make it appear as though he committed suicide. It becomes clear that they intend to blame him for every murder. In a desperate attempt to save her life, the mother pays them money. However, rather than saving her, Katie ruthlessly kills her with the lawnmower. Uncle Jason arrives at Katie's residence in the following scenario to take her and Sloan up. It seems like a while has gone by. After being dropped off at the airport, Katie and Sloan eagerly travel to New York City.